Curiosity, the truth about NASA's raw images of Curiosity on Mars, Part 2. This presentation continues the investigation into the authenticity of the raw images. The images that are posted daily on NASA's website depict the Curiosity Rover exploring Mars. The findings of this comprehensive 3-year study suggest the images are not genuine. Part 1 focused on images that contained inexplicable alterations, such as the letters on Curiosity's nameplate changing multiple times. Enhanced imagery documented how fake equipment was added to the images. The presentation was highlighted by an image that NASA had later deleted from the website that shows Curiosity's robotic arm taken apart. Could these events have occurred to a lone rover trekking across Mars alone? The investigation continues. We begin our presentation noting the continued practice by NASA to creatively obscure the images by adding color. The intentional coloring of the raw images archived in NASA's PDS provide colorful images that can only serve one purpose. These alterations are to hinder the observer from detecting the sometimes obvious details that prove these images were not acquired on Mars. This is the Mars dial, which is located on the rear of Curiosity and is used to calibrate the panoramic cameras. In the image on the right, we see an artist rendering of the Mars dial. There are no pre-launch images available of the dial. In the design, the word Mars is written in 17 different languages. However, in the close-up image on the left taken on Mars, the first row of characters is missing. On the right, we see a color image of the back end of Curiosity's drill. The thin, flat cover consists of 3 rows of circles of varying sizes and shapes. In the black and white image on the left, we see a thicker cover with smooth, rounded edges, and only 2 rows of circles can be observed. The black and white image on the bottom right is the correct view of how it should appear. The top of this tower, located on Curiosity's equipment deck, has a 6-sided silver knob. In the black and white image on the right, somehow the silver knob has been pushed inward, and only the top portion is protruding now. These 2 images of the same section located on the rear of Curiosity somehow now appear quite different. This is a side-by-side comparison of the robotic arm in a downward position on 2 different days. In the image on the left, we see an exposed white section of the arm that normally appears dark, as is shown in the image on the right. Interestingly, both images were taken at the same location, but 23 days apart. Both of these images were also taken at the same location, and in both images, Curiosity's equipment can be observed tucked behind a shard of rock. In this image, we can see that Curiosity's robotic motor is embedded behind the Martian rock. In this color pre-launch image taken at JPL on the left, we can see the top of this motor is approximately 2 feet off the ground. How did the motor become embedded in the Martian rock as we see on the right? In the color image on the left, there are 3 pre-drilled screw holes on the top of this bracket. In the black and white image on the right, a small silver ball has been placed on the left hole. On Sol 1640, the mysterious silver ball was initially not present, as is shown in the image on the left. In a subsequent image, it was then placed on the first hole. In that same series of images, the silver ball has now been moved to the middle hole. The silver balls are often added to add light to many of Curiosity's dark images, as is shown in the image from Sol 885. In this image of Curiosity's rear deck, the silver ball that was added would not be detected by the casual observer. In the enlargement on the left, the silver ball now appears as a nose on a character. The color image on the right shows how the coil in the hinge was used to create the check pattern for the body. An interesting phenomenon occurs in the upper left corner of this image. When enlarged, we can see 2 different colors in the Martian sky. From this perspective, none of Curiosity's body would be in this image to cause this effect. The phenomenon occurs again in this image. Why are there 2 different colors in the Martian sky? In this stunning image, we can see where a straight flap that is shown correctly in the bottom right image has been changed to a hook shape in the image shown above it. In the color image on the left, we see the alpha particle X-ray spectrometer, or APXS, prior to launch. The sensor has a protective gray perforated cover with a circular opening that is capped in white. Oddly, the shape of the opening changes significantly in the black and white image on the right. This image is from NASA's PDS. Copies were archived in multiple colors. Here are the orange and green version of this image. The black circle identifies the 2 objects that were creatively added to the turret that should not be there. Here we compare a black and white image with the green one to see that the 2 objects are no longer present. In this image from the PDS, an object has been added with 3 black circles to the top of the strap that is shown in the color image on the bottom right. In the image on the right, another object has been added to the turret. It is not observed in the image on the left. Here is a comparison with a color image of the same location, and again confirms the object should not be there. In this image, we can see the X-band high-gain antenna located on the left side of Curiosity. The left image from Sol 3 shows a circular object has been added to the base of the antenna. It does not appear in the image on the right or in any other image of the base. The organic check material display is attached to the front of Curiosity's equipment deck. Interestingly, one side is attached in two different ways in these images. In these close-up views, the black and white image on the left shows a white straight peg securing it to the deck. In the color image on the right, we're now viewing it from the front, but can see the display is now bolted directly to the deck with a V-shape bracket. The front section of the organic check material display protrudes somewhat, as is shown in this image. Now that same section of the display that protrudes has a black wedge-shaped object resting on it. This image was taken by the right navigation camera. Just below the black drill bit boxes, a curious, unidentifiable object appears, as is shown in the enlargement on the right. This comparison shows that nothing should appear below Curiosity's drill bit boxes. What is this unidentified object? From this perspective, we can see the extension bracket that supports the observation tray. There is a small triangular shaped flap that rests at the base of the tray. In this image, the triangular flap now has lettering on it. This three-image comparison shows the same equipment with and without the lettering. How did it appear and then disappear? This image shows the front left corner of Curiosity's equipment deck. Beneath the wide brown strap, there are two small tan wires that have been banded together. In this black and white image, we are viewing the same section of the equipment below, the wide brown strap. However, it now appears as a shiny, reflective strip. Here is a side-by-side comparison showing where the wires have been covered by the reflective strip in the black and white image on the bottom. In this close-up of Curiosity's motor, we can see a thin wedge of the Martian surface resting at an angle on the bracket. The motor is approximately 2 feet above the surface. How could this material be resting on it? The image on the left confirms the base of the calibration target is 2 feet off the ground. How did this flat wedge of the Martian surface get up on this bracket? In this image, we can see there is a clear view of the Martian surface from this perspective of the navigation cameras. In this image from the PDS, there are two black straps with one covering the other discovered in this image. This is the same area where it was just documented that a clear view of the Martian surface should be observed. Here is a comparison showing the different views. The enlargement on the right shows clearly the black straps were added. In this image from the PDS, there is an object that appears in the sky. This object has appeared in all images taken by the right B front hazard camera. This object has been in the images since Curiosity's first year of service, and to the casual observer, the small object appears as a small piece of dirt or debris on the lens. However, in this close-up, it appears to be a molded three-piece object. What possible debris or Martian dust would appear like this on a camera lens? Here we get a ground view of Curiosity's front hazard cameras. These 4 cameras are mounted to the front of Curiosity. Each pair map out the terrain as far as 10 feet in front in a wedge shape that is 13 feet wide at the farthest distance. These cameras cannot move independently and are fixed directly to Curiosity. Here, the downward field of view of the front hazard cameras is displayed. The base of the robotic arm is identified to show that it is located above the cameras. The height of the field of view of the front hazard cameras is different in these 2 images. The left image cannot view Curiosity's upper arm, and yet the right one can see straight through it. Again, 2 different views are shown. How is it possible 2 fixed side-by-side cameras would allow one to have a higher perspective? This location was nicknamed Snake River by NASA, and Curiosity explored this site for 2 weeks. This comparison of 2 images from the same location taken on Sol 159 and Sol 160 shows some interesting anomalies. Except for the addition of Curiosity's turret, these images should be identical. When the 3 images are studied together, we can see where a small grouping of rocks was added on Sol 160. In these even closer views, it is apparent that a small grouping of rocks appeared on Sol 160 that were not there the day before on Sol 159, and then were removed by Sol 162. Images such as this one taken by the front hazard cameras contain an interesting feature in the lower right corner. The image shows an edge to the Martian surface that ends with an object protruding. In these images, we can see a white ribbed object just beneath the edge of the Martian surface. It is not a part of Curiosity. This view is a close-up of Curiosity's front right wheel. In this section, the top bracket has been secured and surrounded by a series of screws. Each screw is separated by a thin support bracket. In this view, we can see Curiosity's right, middle, and rear wheels. The enlargement on the right shows a close-up of the motor. Only the first screw on this row can be observed, as there is an object covering the remaining screws. In the black and white image on the left, we can see the screws have been covered with an object. The image on the right shows the correct view of this equipment. In this image from Sol 670, the same technique was applied. The screws are again not visible, and the attempt was to blend the anomaly in with the background of rocks. This is Curiosity's right middle wheel. The red circle identifies a round silver suspension hub. The image on the right shows the round silver hub. In comparison, the image on the left does not show the hub. In these close-ups taken from similar perspectives, it is apparent the round silver hub is not present in the left image. In this comparison with a color image, the silver hub is still missing. Here is an interesting comparison of two images of the same suspension tubes. They should be identical. Is this a photographic anomaly or creative staging? In this close-up of Curiosity's wheels, we can observe two painted stripes have been added to the wheel. Here, bright white tape or chalk has been added to the wheel to give the appearance of sunlight. It is a stark contrast with the equipment showing the real sunlight. In this image from the PDS, we can see the same section of the wheel bracket both in and out of the sunshine. Here, the appearance of the sunshine is not consistent with the bright white stripes observed in Sol 544. Here is a close-up of the area just to the right of the drill. In the left image, the space is open, and in the right, a white object with black lines has been added. In this image, the casing for the elbow joint motor, which was originally solid black, has now been changed to half black and half white. This is an impression left in the Martian soil by Curiosity's wheel. It resembles a foot with toes. In the enlarged image on the right, one appears to even have a smiley face. Impressive work for a wheel the size of a keg. The photographic anomalies did not begin with Curiosity. A detailed study of the raw images for the Spirit and Opportunity rovers that were launched in 2003 also revealed inconsistencies. The following images support the statement that NASA's raw images for the Spirit and Opportunity rovers were also counterfeit. These images taken by the Spirit rover should be identical. The top one came from a website by Holger Eisenberg, who developed a program that converted NASA's black and white raw images to color. The images were taken sequentially, and yet the object in the image has changed completely. The image on the left is from Opportunity's Sol 2. The object in the red box on the left was part of a rover naming contest sponsored by LEGO. The object on top was called the Astrobot. The image on the left of the Astrobot is quite clear. The image on the right from NASA's PDS has been altered in two places. The image of the Astrobot is different, and the series of wires has now been replaced with other equipment. This presentation has highlighted numerous inconsistencies in NASA's raw images. The inexplicable alterations to Curiosity's equipment raise the question, how can these changes occur to a lone rover on Mars 35 million miles away? How did the letters on Curiosity's nameplate change repeatedly? How do parts appear and then disappear? How are rocks and other objects placed on Curiosity and then removed? Why are objects such as straps that are not a part of Curiosity observed in images? How is the same equipment attached differently in two different images? How are brown straps changed to white? How do product codes become sketches of characters? All of the above changes were documented in this presentation and are the basis for questioning the authenticity of NASA's raw images. Are Curiosity and Opportunity trekking around on Mars? If so, why are we getting images that have been proven to be counterfeit? What is on Mars that NASA does not want to reveal?